Hello everyone, ciao a tutti. This is Papilla ASMR. Today I'm going to make a very popular summer side dish in Italy. It's called peperonata. It's like a pepper stew, and I'm going to show you both a modern way to have it as a stew with chickpeas and also a more traditional way to have it, to serve it. And this is also going to be a lighter version of this dish because I'm not going to make what we call sofritto. So I'm not going to fry the onions and garlic as a first step. To make this dish, you only going to need garlic, about 2 cloves, an onion. I have here red onion, but white onion is fine. Other kinds of onion. I have 2 tomatoes on vine, and I have 2, 3, 5 red peppers. Okay. So I wouldn't usually use this type of peppers if I were in Italy, because we have the peppers that we have in Italy tend to be very tasty. They're huge usually, and they're more like very big bell peppers. But here in the UK, bell peppers are usually more for salads. They don't really have that strong flavor, so I'm kind of forced to use these, which generally speaking do have more taste, but they're much thinner, so the cooking time will be affected. But one thing at a time. I'm sorry if they're basically the same ingredients of a couple of recipes that I've already shot, but it's summer here at the moment, and it just so happened that my favorite things to eat contain peppers, tomatoes, garlic, and olives. So sorry about that, maybe a bit repetitive visually speaking. I'm going to start with the peppers. I like to prep them one at a time. And then kind of stack slices of them and try to slice them together as much as I can. So I always make sure to remove this white part, as it's the part that is more difficult to digest, apparently. Hopefully you can pick up some of these wonderful sounds. Now I kind of stack them like this. And cut them more or less this size. I also find it's much easier to slice the peppers when they're facing this way up rather than on this side, as I find it's a bit slippery. Okay, good. So we've removed all the seeds, or almost. Going to add these to the pan, just like that, without any other ingredient for now. Now I'm going to slice all the other peppers, and I'll be right back. At the risk of sounding terribly stereotypical, my grandmother taught me how to make this dish. We used to go see her every summer. She lived in the north of Italy, and she always used to make this dish quite often during the times we were there, and she used to make it as a side to have with what we call secondi, so some proteins of some sort. But So okay. So I'm not going to peel these tomatoes this time, nor remove the seeds. I'm just literally just going to chop them like this, as I'm going to be the only one having this dish. I am going to remove this part though. Okay, good. I just have a piece of paper here, not to stain this tablecloth. I'm going to chop the onion too. I always like to peel off about one layer. Okay. I don't need it to be thin this time. I prefer it quite chunky in this recipe for some reason. Okay, good. Just roughly chopped in this case. Then I'm going to add my grandma was very proud of this recipe being lighter. And but the amount of oil that goes in it, it's still quite a lot. Okay. Oh, this it's kind of pretty actually. It's like a weird avant-garde kind of sculpture. 2020 bouquet. Okay, so now I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil. add some olives, black olives. If you watched some of my other videos, you know that these are my favorite kinds. They're Greek, called kalamata. My favorite kinds that I can find here. They're quite similar to my Italian favorite kinds, olive di gaeta, which I cannot find here. So I'm going to turn this on. So that's it really. I have forgotten the basil actually. I'm going to add later, but do include that on your shopping list if you're going to make this recipe. So as you can see, basically instead of frying the onion with the garlic and then add the other ingredients, my grandma just told me to put everything in the pot and maybe add like a tablespoon of water, but that's it. Just cover it, just very important, and let it cook. Now the worst mistake that you can make with this recipe is to undercook it. At the same time, you don't want to end up with a sloppy mess, but I always find that here in the UK, the vegetables tend to be kind of undercooked for Italian standards. Or for Italian recipes. For instance, I love raw peppers, like in salads, when they're crunchy, or when they're on the crunchy side in some Asian kind of dish. But peppers in this recipe and in a lot of Italian recipes are kind of soft and not they're not completely kind of melting away, but they are on the soft side. This recipe just wouldn't be the same with crunchy peppers. when we grill the peppers, maybe with other vegetables, we do tend to make peppers, aubergines, eggplant, and courgettes, zucchini, grilled, and kind of marinate them. And those are also quite soft, especially when you take the skin off. So I guess that would be the main thing to consider when making this dish that I saw. I'm not sure it's a mistake, but sometimes in restaurants here, I had dishes with peppers that definitely I felt they shouldn't have been so crunchy. So that, I'm not sure it's a mistake, but aubergines, undercooked aubergines, are just the worst thing ever, and I'm sure it's a mistake. They're just bitter, they're awful, they're not supposed to be undercooked, they're not supposed to be any sort of, they're supposed to be kind of sloppy aubergines, let's be honest. And so if you don't like that kind of consistency, this probably is not the recipe for you. But you're welcome to try with cooking them less. Maybe you like it anyway. But to make it the Italian way, they have to be on the soft side. Now I'm just going to let this cook. I don't think you will need water in this case, but I'm going to keep checking. And that is because the tomatoes will release their own water. Let me just have another look, in fact. Yes, it's perfect like this. So I'm going to come back in about 10 minutes to check on these. And the heat is on medium. Okay, I'm gonna see you in a bit. Okay, good. So this is pretty much done. But I am going to add just a little bit of water, just a tiny bit, like this. And especially if you're going to serve this as a stew with chickpeas, I would recommend adding a little bit more of water, so that when you serve it with things like couscous or some other grain or polenta, even better, it will be wet enough. Okay. So I'm going to turn the induction cooker off, and so these have been cooking for about 15 minutes, but anyway, it's more about checking the consistency, and this is the consistency that you want. So very creamy. These types of peppers also peel off the skin, peels off quite easily, but they do taste better than the bell peppers that I can find here, so I still think it's worth it. So what I'm going to do now is to just wait for this to cool down a bit, and then I'm going to store it in the fridge overnight, because I am going to have mine in the more traditional way as a side to mozzarella. If you're having this with a stew, just add chickpeas at this moment, or other kinds of pulses are fine too, and just warm it up. Just let it cook a little bit more. More than cook, I would say just let the chickpeas warm up and serve it. I much prefer it cold. It's just one of those things I always had it cold in the summertime, and somehow it gets creamier. The tomatoes, both the tomatoes and the peppers, kind of release more juices when they're kept cold, maybe. I'm not sure if I'm making this up, but this seems to be what happens. So I'm going to continue filming tomorrow, as I'm also going to be eating this. Okay, so as I was saying yesterday, I'm going to show you 2 ways of serving this dish, peperonata. So the first one is not very Italian, although couscous is just exactly like pasta if you think about it. And I think it is used in Sicily quite a lot. I'm not sure though. So I have about 80 grams of couscous here. And what I've done is I have separated the peperonata made yesterday into 2 batches, and I've added basil leaves to both and chickpeas. Only to this one. Okay, so this will be the first way of serving it, a bit more international. So for the other one, I'm going to slice some bread, first of all. This is sourdough bread, but you can have this with anything that kind of the bread family, let's just say. Okay. So heads up if you don't like eating sounds. So I'm going to be trying this. Let's have a taste. So good. This is cold, which I don't mind at all, but obviously you could add the chickpeas on the stove whilst the peppers are still there and heat them up as well. If you make this version, it doesn't really need olives. So this is good, but to be honest with you, I'm already thinking of that mozzarella. So mozzarella is, well, in general, but especially mozzarella di bufala, buffalo mozzarella. It's my favorite food ever. So I'm just going to get a piece of bread. Oh my god. This is so good. Let's have it. I think I'm going to devour this off camera. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Buon appetito. E a presto.